Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. I saw something, and then I saw a clip where he's talking, Tom, and Elon's like, somebody's like, hey, you think you can fight him? Elon, I have never seen, he's like, I will beat his ass any day, anytime, whenever you want. So I think him going there, and I guess it was, is it Jim Miller? Is it the new guy, that's the bald guy? Stephen Miller is coming in, and he's recognizing that Trump is an agent of change and prosperity, and that Zuck wants to be a part of it. And so I kind of feel like, how do you think Elon's taking that, where this guy's coming in there to
let's read this. Okay. Let's read this. Zuckerberg dines with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and marking a notable meeting between a Facebook founder and former president who had been banned from the platform after January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. A Meta spokesperson confirmed Zuckerberg was invited to discuss the incoming administration with Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, stating Zuckerberg wants to support the national renewal of Americas under Trump's leadership. Zuckerberg has shifted toward a more positive stance on Trump, praising his handling of an assassination attempt as badass earlier this year and accusing Biden administration of pressuring the Facebook to censor, by the way, this is AP News, to censor COVID-19 content. Despite this, Trump recently mocked Zuckerberg on Truth Social, warning Zuckerbucks, be careful, while referencing election fraud claims. Okay, so this is a couple things here to be thinking about. On one end, and Tom, I'm going to come to you right after this. On one, to me, is we're forgetting that. How old was Zuck when he started Facebook, Rob?
He was like 21 from college.
How old was Zuck when he started? I'm actually curious. Was he 19 or 20? I'm trying to see the exact.
Over under
19
20,
years old. Okay.
19.
So he was 19 years old when he started Meta.
He just turned 40.
So can you Google who are Zuckerberg's parents? Who are Zuckerberg's parents? Like, what do they do? I'm curious. Is there anything about his parents? So Edward Zuckerberg, can you zoom in? Is there anything to find out who he is? Dentist, father. Okay, how about his mother? Let's see what his mother. Zoom in. Psychiatrist.
Edward and Karen Zuckerberg.
Perfect. And look at that picture right there. Mom, dad, and himself in the middle, right? That looks like a liberal family, right? Doing all the right things, going to Harvard. Look, it looks like a family, hardworking, but at the same time, academia, you got to go to school, you got to go to the right school, all that stuff. And we automatically expect this guy in his 20s to already know what's right and what's wrong. And then he happens to become a billionaire very early. Then this thing grows into the biggest community worldwide. How many users does Facebook have, Rob? I think it's like 2.2 billion. I may be off by a few hundred million, but it's a lot of people.
90% of those are grandmas.
How many? 3 billion users on Facebook. Active monthly users. Damn.
Wow.
That's active. Okay. 68.85 of the total monthly users log in on their mobile device monthly. That's a pretty impressive number.
But that count Instagram, WhatsApp, all that, just everything.
Facebook.
Just
this
Facebook.
just says Facebook. No, okay.
Oh, man.
So then you go look at Instagram. Then you go look up, he owns WhatsApp. He owns all these companies. Mm-hmm. And what is his net worth today, Rob? If you type in his Mark Zuckerberg net worth?
110 billion, I'm giving.
More than
maybe
that.
more than that at this point?
Well, 200 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying
But where was it 2 years ago?
Oh,
I think
no,
it was
you're
half
right.
of that.
Yeah, no, less than half of that. So $198 billion.
This guy's crushing
Yeah,
it.
of course he is. He's a top 5 guy right now. Wow. So he's in there. He's like, hey, listen, I understand there's all these other guys. Just so you know, I'm the youngest guy worth $200 billion in the world. Mm-hmm. Bezos in his 50s. Musk is in his 50s.
Bezos in his 60s.
Gates is in his 60s, 70s. Buffett's in his 80s. So he's like, guys, I can also change.
Larry's in his 70s.
Larry's in his 70s. So he starts hanging out with jiu-jitsu guys, UFC guys. He changes. He starts looking at what's going on. And he's, by the way, one of the best things happens when your parents get a divorce, you learn about both families a lot when you're going through a divorce. Think about when you're the CEO, the owner of the biggest social media site worldwide, and both the left and the right are calling you, asking favors and trying to run campaigns. You know what you'll learn? You'll learn both of them, how they approach you. Mm-hmm. Which one approaches you and trying to negotiate with you? Which one approaches you with threats? You understand what happened right there?
Of course.
So imagine you are learning, dude, these guys on the left are threatening me. What is this all about? If I don't do this, we're going to do this. The other side is just trying to convince me.
Yeah.
So one is trying to sell me. The other one's trying to threaten me. I'm not part of the threatening community. I build a freaking, I've done more in my life than any one of you guys has done combined. You 2,000 politicians combined don't have my net worth. What do you think? I brought a lot of value to the world here myself at a young age. So now he's evolving. I think Zuck right now, as much slack as everybody's giving him, I think Zuck at 50 years old, maybe even sooner, Zuck's going to be a player. And when I tell you he's going to be a player, I think he's going to be a player. Unfortunately, right now, he's getting criticized. They showed the picture of Elon, and have you seen that picture where Elon and Trump, they're having the lunch, the McDonald's burgers on the plane, and then Zuckerberg's outside the window? Have you guys seen that picture or no? Can you find that? Is there a picture with Zuckerberg? If you keep looking through them, you'll find it. He's outside the window.
He's trying to look in.
He's trying to look in. It's actually a really, really phenomenal image to show that he's an outsider that wants to be on the inside. Oh, you should zoom those in to see if they're in there, the top one. Oh, so you see that window right there?
Yeah, they put his
the
face.
meme put Zuckerberg's picture out there like, hey, I'd love to be on the inside. I understand that. And it's going to hurt a little bit. I get it. Because Elon Musk went all in. And there's a risk when he went all in. And he deserves everything he's getting. Everything he's getting. But Zuck made the right move when he wrote that letter to Jim Jordan. Zuck made the right move when he called out Biden. Zuck made the right move when he said that was a badass move by the president. And Zuck is himself kind of going through the evolution of recreating himself. And I'm okay with that. By the way, on the flip side, you know what I love about Elon? I also love that Elon is staying paranoid. If Elon and Trump are speaking privately, you know what Elon's probably telling Trump? Hey, don't trust him too early.
Yep.
Let's not trust him too early.
Yeah.
Let's not trust him too early. Let's not trust him too early. I'm convinced that is taking place. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I follow the logic and I agree with you on much of that. But I also think that Zuck is being led at gunpoint, and it's guns that he's loaded over the course of Facebook. There are 5 actions that all are incredibly threatening to Meta in front of the federal government right now. 1, the COVID censorship and the censorship of right-wing media. Hearings are going to come up, and there's oversight committees, things that there. And down the street, Google is being broken up. Then there's the FCC, Section 230. That is not going away. It's coming back. And there will be hearings on that in the spring on Section 230, Pat. And guess who's going to be back in front of Congress? Mark Zuckerberg. Yep. The federal FTC on the online ads and the monopoly that Facebook has, they are hearings coming. And they've already told last week, Google was told, maybe we'll just spin Chrome off and do something else. It's the largest data gatherer that they have, the Chrome browser. And they're like, holy crap. That's number 3. Number 4, there are hearings that are going to go on young girls and the addiction and hurting themselves. And should there be limits on young girls? And there's already state attorney generals that are out there that are putting that. Number 4. Number 5, data use. When do you collect data and how do you store it? And does the user know about that? Hearings are coming up next summer on that. Those 5 reasons could take 5 dinners to talk about. And I think Musk, knows it. He understands it. He sees it. But Zuckerberg, I think Musk knows exactly why Zuckerberg would go in there. Zuckerberg needs to, in addition to that letter of Jim Jordan, he needs to make nice with the new president and his head of the FTC, head of the FTC, FCC, the censorship hearings, the Consumer Protection Agency, and Data Use Protection Group. So there's a lot of reasons for Zuck at gunpoint to go do this. We'll find out.
Can both be true at the same time?
Huh?
Can both be true at the same time?
Yes, they can be true at the same time, and I'm anxious to see what shows up. Is it true, or is it lobbying because he has to?
Who was Elon Musk at 38 years old, 39 years old, 40 years old? Who was he?
Rocket making.
Politically, where was he? How did he feel about Trump when he was 38, 39, 40 years old?
He was leaning the opposite way.
I think he was a... But he wasn't a militant. He was a liberal, but he wasn't militant.
No, he was never militant.
But was he? But was he active? No. Was he active?
No, he was.
Was he active in literally taking down the president? Because let's not forget, from the Zuckerbucks, from the 200 and God knows how many million. All right, the damage has already been done. I think he's there. My opinion, he's there to kiss the ring. I mean, let's not forget about all the stories. Tom, you nailed it. All the COVID, all the censorship, all the Hunter Biden, all that stuff. people like me, I want accountability. Okay, I've been saying that forever. We deserve it. From the Pelosi's to the, holding down the National Guard, to Russia collusion, all those people that were involved, to Dr. Fauci, the people like that have supported Trump from the beginning, have lost friends, lost relationships. I've lost opportunities. I was in Hollywood. We want accountability, okay? Because I talked to Rob about this when we came in. If Kamala Harris won, do you think that they'd give him any grace? Any grace? Would they stop any of these things? Like when they're talking about, I know we talked about it. Trump, to be nice, should pardon Hunter Biden and pardon Joe Biden.
Give any grace?
The other side.
You think Kamala would have
Grace for what?
Would they have given Trump grace?
At all.
Zero.
That's what I'm saying. So, Pat, what I'm saying is we deserve, and I don't want retribution. I don't want them to, but we want a little bit of, okay, you messed up, there's your penalty. Hunter Biden, he belongs in prison. I know we're going to get there. That guy belongs in prison, and Joe Biden should have been impeached. We want some accountability. Mr. Fauci, we want that too. So a Zuckerberg, and you're right, Pat, it could kind of go both ways. But for what he did, that letter to me is just going, hey, let me just, I'm sorry. They were telling me, the White House was telling me.
When he wrote the letter, if you remember when we talked about it on the podcast, Rob, if you can remember when he wrote the letter, just find the dates. It's Dear Honorable Chairman Jordan. That's what the letter is, right?
Dear, did he say dear?
I actually think he said dear, which is, can you go to the letter? Is that the date? Can you just click
August
on the images?
30th.
Can you go on the images? Let's see how he opens it up.
Did you say dear, Pat? Is dear in there? Dear Congressman? Your Honorable
Chairman Jordan. Honorable Jim Jordan. Yeah. So when he wrote this letter, what's the date on it? See if it says the date on this
August
thing.
26th.
Okay, August 26th. August 26th, July 13th, that is 6 weeks after Trump got assassination attempt in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we responded to this, I said this is Zuck's way of saying he thinks Trump's winning. If you remember how we reacted to this, that was my position that I took. Okay. But also at the same time, none of us knew. Let's face it, guys. On August 26th, everybody here wasn't Trump's winning. Let's not get it twisted.
I wasn't 100%.
No, everybody here was like, 51-49, right? And remember, this was still the honeymoon stages of, when did they announce Kamala? Can you?
July 21st.
July 21st.
I think.
Is that the date?
Robert,
okay.
Wasn't that, or is that the Biden letter? Or is that the Kamala date?
So let's find out what the exact date. I'm trying to get sequencing down with this. I just want to know when they announced Biden stepping down. 21st. Okay. So July 21st. You got a spot on. Okay. So when you look at that, exactly 5 weeks later, he writes the letter. 5 weeks later, on every poll, she is still ahead. And they were like, she's going to win, she's going to this, she's going to that, okay?
Yeah, it was the anti-Biden bounce. She's our girl.
For sure, okay. So he wrote that letter. Do you know how risky of a letter that is to write? Let me explain to you how risky the letter that is to write. Let's say he writes that letter. There was another 1 or 2 attempts on Trump.
Yeah.
If one succeeds, Kamala wins, what happens to him for the next 4 years with the left? Do you know what they do to him on Facebook? Oh, they will destroy him and humiliate him and do everything they can to hurt him. It's better to write that letter after somebody wins because it's safer. The safer time to write the letter is after November 5th. The safer time, okay? You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
Okay. The risky time to write it is when? 5 weeks after Kamala's announced and America's done with Biden after the debate with Trump, which was embarrassing, and the assassination attempt, to realize that Biden cannot beat Trump. They bring Kamala in, young, fresh, all this stuff, right? He writes this letter. I'm convinced that he is going through the evolution himself. I'm convinced when they wrote that letter, I guarantee you some people in his camp, on his board, who are on the left said, don't write this letter. Imagine you have a board. Where's he based out of? Silicon Valley? I don't know where Facebook is. I'm going to say it's somewhere in the Cupertino area.
So.
All right. Sure. What percentage of his board do you think are left?
99%.
Can you type in Meta board? Type in Meta board of directors. Meta board of directors.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say 100%.
I'm telling you this. So if you zoom in a little bit, okay, let's go through who it is. All right. So
well, we know where
go
he's
up.
from.
Let's see Javier Olivan. Tom, do you know Javier or no? Zoom in a little bit to see what his background is and what he did.
See,
prior to that, he was a product manager at Siemens Mobile, functional journalism. Okay, let's see who the next guy is. Nick, President Global Affairs at Meta. What's his background? Prior to this, he was UK Parliament in 2005, European Commission, 5 years European Parliament, Liberal Democrat Party in 2007. He became the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party 2007, the Deputy Prime Minister in the UK. So, left. Susan Lee. You just saw Susan Lee. That's the lady that Tom was talking about who was involved in the political stuff. Isn't this the same lady?
Was that Nancy? Was it Nancy or
is
Susan?
it Susan
No,
Lee?
that's Lindy Lee.
Okay, go back. So
She might be a cousin.
So this is, where was she at? Finance and business planning and treasury. She joined the company, vice president of finance. 2000, she was in investment banking, Morgan Stanley. Next, the likelihood of 80% of these guys being liberal. Okay, Andrew went to Harvard. Chris Cox, I don't know what his background is, what they're doing. The point is, okay, Stanford, 80% of these guys are probably liberal. So now imagine you're going up there saying, guys, I want to send this letter out. What do you think they're telling him?
Are you sure?
Tom, what do you think the board is telling Zuck?
So Zuck was trying to find, I just sent you 2 clips, Rob, and if you could find the one from Wired. So Wired, fair to say, Bible of Silicon Valley, you know, not bombastic. They carefully researched stories, well-respected publication. Facebook had been dealing with the ire of the Democrats for a while. And I do not believe for a second that it was lost on Zuckerberg, that in many ways he was a man without a country. Wired, here's how Facebook actually won Trump the presidency back 2016. People were pissed at him because they were trying to do all the Russian collusion stuff, but people thought Facebook didn't do enough. It actually had helped Trump influence voters through Facebook, and they were pissed off about it. And then, go to the next clip, Rob. This is very interesting. There's the one that was right there. Those guys right there, Politico. Angry Democrats pose rising risk for Facebook. So Zuckerberg has felt the heat from the Dems that felt that he didn't stand in line enough. And so I think his board would have looked at it and say, Mark, you know, the Dems have been upset with us for a while. I don't know if you want to write this letter.
Exactly.
You know?
validate my point even more, Tom, because here's what happens. So, Tom, let me explain
That's
to
what
you.
I was doing.
I know that.
I was giving you facts.
No, I love that. But
Why write the letter now?
I was in a board meeting, guys. It was like, I'm going against everybody against me. Like, what the F are you guys talking about? And it was 3 hours extended into a longer meeting. Sometimes...
the COVID policy discussion.
Well, that was one of them. Yes, for sure that was one of them. That was the nastiest one. But for you to know your board, your investors are not going to support you writing that letter and you still write it and you post it, I don't know, man. You got to applaud that. You got to applaud that. And for me, I don't know what he's going through, a recreating of himself and rebuilding of himself. I'm actually curious to know what he ends up turning into. And by the way, now that common sense community, because to me, it's common sense. It's not Republicans. They want to say Republican. To me, common sense. Puberty blockers are bad under 18. Common sense. You want to do it above 18? Look, I don't agree with it, but go ahead and do what you want to do with it, right? Common sense. LGBTQ being taught too early to school, to kids, it's bad. Common sense. Not allowing Tesla to do what they want to do and targeting them in your state and driving business owners out is bad, right? Gas taxing people over and over and over and over again, driving, it's bad, right? These are bad. So common sense. Musk, common sense. Rogan, common sense. Zuck, as you age, more common sense. Trump, common sense. Tulsi, common sense. Bobby, common sense. Vivek, common sense. So this is the part where right now, you know, the positioning of what's happening, you now have Google and YouTube over here. You know, I don't know. I just think this is I'm glad Trump's team reached out. Stephen Miller, if he sees this, you guys are strategic moves you're making. Very impressive. Zuck, freaking phenomenal for going out there and sitting down. And Musk, please stay paranoid because you need to hold everybody. Someone in the room needs to be the guy that's going to be like, yeah, I don't know yet. That's okay. Someone needs to play that flag carrier role. Go Go ahead and get your
just-
thoughts, and I'm going to move on to the next
I
story.
think we just got to give Zuck a little credit for growing and evolving. I mean, you highlighted the fact that he started Facebook out of his dorm when he's 19 years old. He
Yeah.
just turned 40. By the way, he's a father of 3 daughters. He's a girl dad. So for 20 years, this guy's been in the limelight, billionaire. Of course he's going to grow. Of course he's going to, the Riz, this, that. I would say that you think Zuck had Riz when he was 19, 20 years old. He started Facebook because he couldn't meet any girls. That was the whole premise of it. So you see these days, Zuck specifically, now he's doing UFC. He's fighting. He's saying things like when Trump got shot in the face and he got up, quote unquote, that was one of the most badass things I've ever seen. With Emily Chang, Adrian's old flame. I'll tell you about that. But we're at model volleyball in South Beach this past year, right? You know model volleyball. You showed up. Who walks by out of nowhere? Mark Zuckerberg. We're like, did Zuck just walk by? Yeah, that was Zuck. What is this guy doing in South Beach? He's growing. He's developing. You got to give him credit for that. By the way, I was right. 2 years ago, Rob, I don't know if you had this. Facebook stock, when they changed their name to Plummet, you remember this, PBD? You were just a huge fan of the NFT world at that point, and they changed their name to Meta, and everyone's NFTs, it's ever going like that. Facebook stock plummeted down to 92, 93, 2 years ago. This guy's wealth basically was cut in half.
I want to
Look
go
at
to the
this.
next story, Adam. I want to
And
go to the
now
next story.
it's 6